Welcome to the Simplify Your Life podcast. It's Coach Simona, and I'm glad you decided to tune in. Hey everyone! In today's podcast episode, I'm going to share with you cognitive biases examples, and we'll specifically dive deeper into one of the most common cognitive distortions called the Dunning-Kruger effect. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Simona, certified life coach and author of the book 111 Ways to Simplify Your Life. I make weekly podcast episodes on personal development, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe. Now, before we dive into the Dunning-Kruger effect and some helpful examples when it comes to this cognitive distortion, I want to remind you that this is the 9th episode of my series on cognitive biases, and there will be 6 more to come in the upcoming months, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't listened to the previous 8 episodes, I will leave links to them in the description box below. I've also created a special YouTube playlist so you can listen to all of the episodes on cognitive biases by visiting youtube.com/CoachSimona. Now, before we explore the Dunning-Kruger effect in depth, let's clarify what a cognitive bias actually means. A cognitive bias is a systematic error in thinking that affects the decisions and judgments that you make. Another popular term that has the exact same meaning as cognitive biases is cognitive distortion. Now, as we mentioned, the cognitive bias we're going to explore in depth today is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. What does this cognitive distortion actually mean? The Dunning-Kruger effect is all about someone being incompetent at something, but also being unable to recognize their own incompetence. Here's what I mean. The more you learn about a topic, the more you realize how complicated that subject really is. When people experience the Dunning-Kruger effect, they believe that they're smarter and more capable than they really are. Essentially, what happens is that the lack of self-awareness leads them to overestimate their own capabilities. The effect is named after researchers David Dunning and Justin Kruger, the two social psychologists who first described it. In their original study on this psychological phenomenon, they performed a series of investigations. Now, here's what's interesting. The results from their investigations show that low performers were unable to recognize the skill and competence levels of other people, which was part of the reason why they consistently viewed themselves as better, more capable, and more knowledgeable than others. So in a nutshell, incompetent people tend to overestimate their own skills levels, can't recognize the skills or expertise of other people, and they're also unable to recognize their own mistakes and lack of skill. Now, I want to make a very important disclaimer and talk about a misunderstanding that often happens with the Dunning-Kruger effect. One important thing to note here is that being incompetent doesn't mean that you're stupid or have a low IQ. All of us struggle with the Dunning-Kruger effect in one area or another because you don't know what you don't know. Meaning, it's normal to overestimate how much you know about a subject until you've really started to dive deeper into it. Now, as with any other cognitive bias, the Dunning-Kruger effect can be difficult to detect. So we need to be aware of its manifestations to be able to spot our error in thinking and choose a better, more objective view of the situation. The question is, do we all struggle with the Dunning-Kruger effect, or is it something that only happens to a handful of us? The short answer is probably yes. While we can't confirm that that is the case for every single person on planet Earth, it's definitely something that is quite common for us humans. We all have cognitive biases and blind spots. So although we may not struggle with the Dunning-Kruger effect per se, we definitely have problems with other cognitive biases. I've actually made a free downloadable cheat sheet with the top 15 cognitive biases that may be holding you back. So if you want to download it, just click the first link in the description box below or visit bit.ly/15biases. Now let's go back to the Dunning-Kruger effect. Here are a few examples to illustrate this cognitive bias. Let's say someone is a poor performer at work. They may volunteer for extra work because they overestimate their abilities or skills, while people who know how complicated their job is would typically try to avoid committing to things that they know they wouldn't have the time or energy to finish, because they're trying to give their best at work. Here's another example of the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. Let's say we asked university students after an exam about their prediction on what grades they were going to get. The straight A students would most likely underestimate their performance or give a pretty good estimate, while some of the most incompetent ones would often overestimate their performance and think that they scored higher than they actually did. In one study, 42% of employees at a high-tech software engineering company assessed their own performance as being in the top 5%. Of course, that is mathematically impossible. But what is important here is that 42% of these employees may think that they know best, and therefore they're gonna miss chances to grow and develop their skills. And if the real top 5% don't know how good they are at their job, they may miss a lot of opportunities to grow and lead. Now, it's interesting that many people argue that the opposite of the Dunning-Kruger effect is actually imposter syndrome. You see, the Dunning-Kruger effect applies to overestimating your skills and abilities, while imposter syndrome is all about feeling like a fraud, no matter how skilled or knowledgeable you are. I've actually dedicated an entire video on this topic, so if you're interested in learning more about how to overcome imposter syndrome, head over to youtube.com/CoachSimona. As you can see, before we come to any conclusions, it would be beneficial to step back and objectively assess the situation. So how can you do that? What can help a lot when it comes to spotting the Dunning-Kruger effect is to ask yourself the following questions. 1. Is this a fact? 2. What evidence can I collect to support this statement? 3. Am I being rational here, or is this a cognitive bias? 4. If this is a cognitive bias, which one is it? These questions will make even more sense as we go deeper into this topic with the next episodes from the Cognitive Biases series. If you're curious to see what else we're going to cover in the next few months, make sure to download your free cheat sheet at bit.ly/15biases. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please like it. And subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss out on my weekly podcast episodes. I'm sending you all my love, and I'll talk to you in the next one.